The first transfer window of 2026 is now over, and once again, it has really delivered. Now, while everyone was heavily focused on transfers like Antoine Semenyo to Man City, Marc Guéhi to City, and João Cancelo to Barcelona, you may have some other really spicy deals. And those are the ones we're here to tell you about. These are 25 transfers you might have missed in the January transfer window. Let's start with Oleksandr Zinchenko. He completed a move to Ajax this January for a €1.5 million fee. The Ukrainian had moved to Nottingham Forest on loan at the beginning of the season, but he decided to cancel it this January and moved to the Netherlands to join Ajax. This was originally being discussed as a loan deal, but they eventually decided to shake on a permanent transfer. Another transfer you might have missed was Jurgen Strand Larsen, moving from Wolves to Crystal Palace on a £50 million deal. Following Mateta declaring his desire to leave the club, the Eagles decided to go out and sign a replacement even before they lost the Frenchman, which led them to the Norwegian. And Strand Larsen wasn't even the only Norwegian to move to a London club this January. Oscar Bob did as well, leaving Manchester City to move to Fulham. Having signed Antoine Semenyo, one attacker had to leave, and Bob was the easiest option. He was initially being chased by Borussia Dortmund, but it was Fulham who showed the most intent, agreeing on a £27 million package to get him from City. City, however, have a 20% sell-on clause as well as matching rights in the contract. Guess you could say it was a good deal for all parties. And you could also say that Bob came in to replace Adama Traoré, who left Fulham in this window to join West Ham. This means that the former Barcelona man reunites with Nuno Espirito Santo, the coach he played under while he was at Wolves. It was Nuno who really pushed for the move, and he eventually got it towards the end of the window. Another big transfer you might have missed was that of Conor Gallagher. The midfielder returned to London this January, leaving Atletico Madrid to move to Spurs in a €40 million deal. He was first linked to Aston Villa on a loan move, but Spurs came in, offered a permanent move, and Gallagher immediately said yes, not caring that they are big rivals of Chelsea. Speaking of Chelsea, they said goodbye to Facundo Buonanotte in this window. The Argentinian had joined the London club on loan last summer, but having not seen enough playing time, he decided to cancel the loan halfway into the season and move to Leeds United, where he will be expected to get more minutes. The transfer to Leeds is also a loan move, so as things stand, Buonanotte will be returning to Brighton at the end of the season. Now, speaking of former Chelsea players, did you know that Thiago Silva returned to Europe in this window? The legendary centre-back left Chelsea to return to Fluminense in Brazil in 2024, and everyone thought he was going there to retire. But after a year and a half, the icon has decided to return to Europe, moving to Porto on a free transfer. This is something of a homecoming, as Silva had previously played for Porto's B team in the 2004 to 2005 season. Now, he's back as a legend and has already broken Pepe's record to become the oldest player to ever feature in an official game in the history of the club. Now, while Thiago Silva was leaving Brazil for Europe, Lucas Paquetá was doing the opposite. The 28-year-old midfielder just went full circle, moving back to his boyhood club Flamengo, where it all started for him. The Brazilian outfit reached an agreement for a record €42 million fee to bring him from West Ham, and his new contract should keep him at the club for 5 years. And since we're talking about Brazilian midfielders, let's also talk about Douglas Luiz. He left Aston Villa in 2024 and moved to Juventus in a €50 million deal, which ended up being an absolute flop. He returned to the Premier League last summer, joining Nottingham Forest on loan, but that loan was interrupted in January, allowing him to return to Aston Villa on another loan deal. He was initially linked with a move to Chelsea, but no agreement was reached, allowing Aston Villa to swoop in and hijack the deal. Speaking of Chelsea and Aston Villa, the Birmingham club secured the services of former Chelsea striker Tammy Abraham this January. The British-Nigerian striker had only just moved to Besiktas in the summer, but when Villa came calling, he said an immediate yes and moved back to England for a fee that's reported to be around £18 million. And this is sort of a homecoming for him, as he had previously played for Aston Villa in the 2018-19 season on loan from Chelsea. Back then, Villa were playing in the Championship, but now they're fighting for the Premier League title. How times change, right? And goalkeepers also made moves, you know. Marc-André ter Stegen left Barcelona to join City rivals Girona on a loan deal. Having signed Joan Garcia in the summer, the captain had become surplus to requirements at Barcelona. This left him with no other option but to leave if he wanted to play football. And considering he wants to be Germany's #1 at the World Cup this summer, this was an important move for him to make. And you know what opened up the way for that move? Dominik Livakovic cancelling his loan deal. The Croatian goalie had moved to Girona on on loan last summer, but having not been given priority at the club, he decided he would not play a single minute for them, eventually cancelling his loan deal to join Dinamo Zagreb in January. Still on the topic of Girona, they also said goodbye to their club record signing this January. They had signed Yasser Asprilla for €18 million in 2024, a fee which could rise to €24 million in performance-related add-ons. But after a year and a half, he has already left the club to join Galatasaray on a loan move with an obligation to buy for around €23 million. And while Livakovic and Asprilla were saying goodbye to Spain, Neil Maupay was saying hello. The French striker just completed a loan move to Sevilla with an option to buy at the end of the season, which meant that he left Marseille after having struggled for minutes all season. Speaking of Marseille, the Ligue 1 club signed Quentin Timber. Yes, the twin brother of Arsenal defender Jurrien Timber. His contract with Feyenoord was due to expire later in the summer, but Marseille wanted him so badly that they paid a fee of about €4.5 million to get him in January. Another Dutchman who moved this January was Noah Lang. He had only moved to Napoli last summer in a €25 million deal, signing a 5-year contract with the Italian champions. There was a lot of anticipation around this one, but just 6 months later, he's already out of the club. The winger wasn't very happy with his time in Naples, so he opted to leave, joining Galatasaray on loan with an option to buy at the end of the season. And since we're still talking about Dutchmen, we know some of you might have missed the transfer of Donyell Malen from Aston Villa to AS Roma. He left Dortmund to move to the Premier League in January 2025, but despite his great performances, he never seemed to be able to convince the coach to make him a starter. So he decided to leave and try a new challenge. He moved to AS Roma in January on loan with an obligation to buy for €25 million at the end of the season. But he wasn't even the only attacker Roma brought in the winter window. They also signed Robinho Vaz from Marseille. This one, though, wasn't a loan deal. The Italian club paid €25 million to get the 18-year-old, offering him a 4-year contract with the club. And you know what? You might also have missed some big transfers involving some big names leaving Europe. For example, did you know that Timo Werner has left Europe? The German forward completed a move to MLS club San Jose Earthquakes this January on a permanent deal. You know who else moved to the MLS this January? Sergio Reguilon. The former Real Madrid man links up with Lionel Messi at Inter Miami, slotting in as a direct replacement for freshly retired Jordi Alba. Sadly, the left-back has already picked up an injury during pre-season. Another player who left Europe this January was Kendry Páez. The very talented 18-year-old Ecuadorian was previously on loan at Strasbourg from Chelsea, but this January that loan was cancelled, allowing him to move to Argentina to join River Plate on another loan deal. Moving on, this next one happened very early in the transfer window, so a lot of you might have missed it or just forgotten. We're talking about Niklas Füllkrug. The German striker left West Ham and moved to AC Milan on loan this winter with an option to buy at the end of the season. You know who else left West Ham this January? Guido Rodriguez. After a year and a half at the London club, the former Real Betis midfielder decided his time in England was over. He returned to Spain this winter to join Valencia on a free transfer. Still on players who left West Ham in this window, let's talk about James Ward-Prowse. The midfielder is not one of Nuno's favourites, that bit was obvious. The coach had previously iced him out when they were together at Forest, and he did so once again after he was hired as coach of West Ham in September. So, seeing as he was getting no playing time at all and had no hope to do so in the near future, the free kick specialist decided to up and move to Burnley on a loan deal until the end of the season. Now, this next one, we just had to talk about it because of who his father is, and we're talking about Maximilian Ibrahimovic. The young forward has followed in the footsteps of his father by moving to Ajax at the age of 19. Max left AC Milan this winter, joining Ajax on a loan deal with an option to buy for €3.5 million at the end of the season. If he goes on to have even half of the career his father did, he would retire an absolute legend of the game. But will he be able to live up to those extremely high standards? What do you think? Anyway, are there more big transfers you think we might have missed in the January transfer window? Feel free to share them with us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.